course, the Israeli Prime Minister doesn't want that to happen. He wants to eliminate Hamas because he said they would be a terrorist nation. A lot of people have died in that war. And of course, the war with Ukraine and Russia, that's another major problem in that part of the world. And Bahamians, when you look around and you see the terrible things that are happening in far-flung places, we in the western side of the world, we have our share of problems, but I believe we are not doing enough to be able to solve issues that affect us in our own country. And of course, in the United States, they're having problems in the United States with illegal immigration. People by the millions in the United States who ought not to be there. They're there illegally. And of course, the president of that country is trying to do the best that he can to remove those illegal aliens from that particular country. Bahamians, leaders are hard-pressed to find solutions. Our leaders here are hard-pressed to find solutions. I understand that some people who are expecting to be paid this month have to wait until December. And of course, I heard the Minister of, I think it is for the Public Service, Pierre Global Role, said that they will have to ask the Minister of Finance. And you know who the Minister of Finance is. I've noted that the two positions, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, has been held by one particular person almost from its inception. We had a finance minister, the Honorable Carlton E. Francis. That's before many of you even came into existence. So you hardly don't know about him. But even Sir Lyndon himself was Minister of Finance and Prime Minister at one point during his term, 25 years and 9 months. He's the longest serving leader, first Premier, then went to be Prime Minister, longest serving Prime Minister in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And of course, Mr. Ingram came after him. Mr. Ingram had 3 terms. He asked for 2, but he got 3. Mr. Christie also got 2 terms, 2 non-consecutive terms. The point is, we have our share of problems, and a lot of you complaining. Of course, we have problems with lighting in New Providence, and I'm sure it's very bad in the Family Islands. Bahamians, we can't continue to operate the way we are going. You're going to have tragedy. People are going to lose their lives, and some have already lost their lives. One person smashed into a big block in the middle of the road coming from the airport and just smashed right into it. I think it's on Munnings Drive. And that particular person is deceased. We haven't yet heard whether there was any compensation to that particular family or not. But a loved one was lost. It was a lady who was killed at that particular time. And of course, since then, we've been having problems with crime. People are shooting and killing people as usual in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and people being stabbed. I understand a gentleman in Grand Bahama was stabbed. And a lot of people have to go to the hospital, either the Rand Memorial Hospital or the Princess Margaret Hospital, as a result of these injuries. And Bahamians, I believe we have to start learning to take care of each other. I understand that a prominent doctor is dead. I haven't heard any announcement on any of the radio stations regarding that prominent doctor, but I've been reliably informed. And this particular individual has done a lot in the country, former Minister of Health, Dr. Norman Gay. I understand, it's reported to me that he has passed, but I haven't heard anything from the major networks in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas on his passing. The point is, we need to look out for our elders. Dr. Norman Gay has served well in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. He has done a lot to help the nation, and I think we ought to remember these people. Just like Missouri Sherman Peters, a well-known diplomat, having done work in the diplomatic service. We don't know much about her, generally speaking, but I've heard some very nice things about this particular lady. What happens, Bahamians, is a lot of people die with this institutional knowledge. Very few of us would have it. So if we don't get to them while they are alive and have that transfer of information, what happens is they carry it with them. And Dr. Norman Gay was one of those persons who would have had tremendous institutional knowledge. And when my sister told me about it and I heard from some other people that he had passed, I was very saddened by it. I didn't even know he was sick or what would have happened. But Bahamians, we have to learn to care for our people. We have to take better care of those who would have served the Bahamian people at a very high standard. Dr. Norman Gay was one of those who did that. In fact, he went into a different phase of health, natural health, in his later years, and he did a tremendous work in helping the Bahamian people. Bahamians, we have to remember our people. We have to take care of our seniors. Now, I know there's a major problem in this country with looking after our senior citizens. We have to do something about that. A lot of people are depending on the government of the day to look after their elderly relatives. And when you get as young as I am, you have to make sure you take good care of your health. You have to be careful what you eat. There's sometimes you may not be able to buy what you would like to buy. And like my mother and father would always tell me, you do it out until you can do better. We're having a lot of problems in the country. Things are tight. There are a lot of problems, multiplicity of problems which have never been solved. And this has been going on for decades in Bahamians. This just didn't start yesterday. If it had started yesterday, that would have been a different kettle of fish. But it's been going on time after time after time again. People were given the authority to run this place. You elected them. You appointed them. Some elected, some appointed. Of course, you know, today is Constitution Day. Someone called me yesterday and gave me a flurry of constitutional questions. And I said to the particular personality, please call the show today. When I speak on constitutional issues, I want the public to hear about it. I don't want to just talk to one individual, because if I could say it to 50,000 one time, 50,000 would hear it or more. And instead of wasting all that time to talk to a particular personality, it's not that I don't want to have personal conversation with people, but when it comes to national issues, I prefer to discuss them in the public domain, so the people will be able to hear. That's what Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson said. That's what the caller would have said, whoever the particular person may be. There are some people who are afraid to call. I don't know why they should be afraid. The Bahamas is one of the freest countries on the planet. Some of you may have difficulty trying to believe that. I heard a particular doctor from the University of the Bahamas. He was on another radio station discussing his views, and I listened to some of the things he said. Some points he had which were correct. And of course, the idea is to change the Constitution. I don't know how you intend to do that. And there's so lack of understanding, so much misinformation about our Constitution. And there are those who want us to become a republic. They say, oh, be like a republic. Look what's happening in the United States. China is a republic too, communist China. But they're not democratic. We are a sovereign, democratic, theocratic, independent state. We're a nation under God, but we are not practicing those principles that God wants us to practice as a nation. We've been listening to everybody else except God. Why have we gotten that way? We have drifted so far off from those founding principles that our mothers and fathers gave us. We have to get back to them, Bahamians, because that's the only way we can build a nation. The Word of God, the Holy Bible, and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Those are your two documents that you need in order for salvation for this country. We can do much better than we are doing now. And I heard the discussion on another radio station about people suffering. Are people suffering? And there was one caller that called in and said Bahamians are not suffering. I think some people will have challenge with that. Are they doing well? How do you know whether they're doing well? I had asked two questions that I put out before the public July the 8th, 2024, at the constituency level and at the national level relating to the government of the Bahamas on the first end, and then the representative in a particular constituency. And of course, there have been some shows where they would grade their particular representative, give him an A, B, C, D, whatever. I don't know what those things mean. I don't know what that A means. What does it mean? What does the D mean? If you're going to grade a parliamentarian, you need to get very specific and very clear. You live in that constituency. You ought to know the problems that you are afflicted with. Many of you have been living there all your life. And you mean to tell me you're not able to identify what is happening in your own constituency, around the corner where you live? A lot of you don't even know the boundaries of these constituencies. I'm going to have to do some special shows so I could tell Engliston, because Engliston is not where it used to be. I remember in those older days when I would know, I would move from Engliston to Centerville, to Bain Grant's Town, St. Cecilia, and so on. But everything has been changed up. The boundaries have been shifting. They're cut differently today. So a lot of you don't even know the boundaries of your particular constituency. Yet these are the same people who are going to be going to the polls to choose a representative for that particular constituency. And many of the residents and constituents don't even know. They're not aware. And so we need to know the boundaries of Centerville, eastern boundary, northern boundary, southern boundary, western boundary. What are the boundaries? And all the areas in between, the major points in that particular constituency. You have pockets of people in these constituencies. And these people are just sitting there. One size doesn't fit all. But they are not actively involved in helping to improve the quality of life in their particular community, one, and in their particular constituency, two. And as far as national issues are concerned, they seem to be completely lost. And that is very sad. We've been a nation for 52 years. What has been good about that is we have had the peaceful transfer of power from one administration to the next. When you read your constitution, you will see there it's called the government of the Bahamas. Every time I open my mouth on this radio station, I speak about the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I'm not talking about no people's political party. The Constitution allows for political bodies. The Constitution allows for freedom of association. You have churches, you have lodges, you have different organizations. I am not interested in what church you necessarily go to, not that I don't care. But when you look at a particular constituency, that constituency is made up of different people with different ideas, different opinions, different beliefs. But guess what? They should have one thing in common. They're all members of that particular constituency. And the difficulty is we seem not to be able to get people to understand that there has to be cooperation for things to improve on the ground in that particular constituency. Now, there was a particular personality on air last week. Was it last week? Yeah, last week, Thursday, my birthday. This particular personality was to be talking about, the question was asked about your member of parliament. And it saddens me to see how misleading this particular person was, who sat in the House of Assembly on 2 terms or more, and yet could not explain from the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Parliament. Don't understand. Even a leading bishop in one of the largest denominations in this country made some mistakes when he was talking to his audience. And I said, how come no one corrected this man? Don't know what Parliament really means. Don't understand the composition of Parliament. And this particular person on the air spewing out this false information doesn't understand the composition of Parliament. And I asked, someone called me, I think yesterday it was, and I asked that person, asked me a whole lot of constitutional questions. And I told that particular person to call the show today. Let me answer that publicly so that everybody can hear what Professor says on the particular question. Mr. Producer, we have someone on the line. I think you're getting that. I'll take the call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, sir. How are you?
You have a good show, you know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Thompson, my name is Godfrey Bryce. I was trying to get you for several weeks now.
Several
I
weeks.
live through the corner of Woods Valley over the years, back in the, I think that was the 80s. And I heard you mention earlier about the constituencies. I'd like to tell folks listening today, you were the reason and are the reason why a person like me, a man like me, at the age of 66, I am still alive today.
Okay.
I qualify that by saying, when you walk through Woods Valley with the basketball, you had young men like myself and others who saw you coming, ran towards you, and then you built up all of our dreams.
Yes.
Back then, we were involved in all kind of illicit stuff.
Okay.
But from the day that we went with you and picked up the basketball, I know our life turned around forever. And I was trying my hardest for a long time to try to find a way to reach you. I listen to your show often, to your show often.
Okay.
And I really want to say publicly too how much I appreciate you making the change in my life. Able to go up, get a good job, work for the union over the last several years.
Yes.
First vice president, and you know, people back then were saying, if anything good, you come over to Woods Valley.
Yes.
But I really applaud you. I appreciate you. I love you. I love the work that you continue to do. And see, when you even mentioned the constituency was different,
Yes.
I was glad to know when I could get in today.
Yes.
Because you heard Angleston, Grantstown, Freetown, Forksville. I mean, I never know how Mr.
St.
Thompson going
Barnabas,
to do this.
Yellow Elder,
The
Kalani.
Yellow Elder. I made numerous others.
Yes.
And you never had no car.
No, I didn't have
You
no
never
car
had no
then.
bicycle.
No,
All you had your feet, your whistle, and a basketball.
that is correct.
Because I know we used to go in the St. John's area
Yes.
in the back of the school.
Yeah, that's
And
where I
that's where we
started.
used to have our practice.
Yes, that's where I started out. Yes, that's correct. You're quite right.
And only one person I can remember that you having assisted you sometime was Mr. Homo Winder, who died some years back.
Yes, I remember him. Yes, that's correct.
And he came on later.
Yes, he did.
And so I like I say, I'm in Fox, I live in Foxville area.
Okay.
And I always would tell my family, folks, and my friends, and whoever, and also a couple more of the guys I'm still around, like the Lavate, the Pat Henderson, then you have Joey Culmer, and Alan Sarge up on the fourth in Castle area up in that. A lot of
Yes.
us still, every time we see one another, we always talk about Mr. Thompson.
Yes, I appreciate that.
So I just want the Bahamian people to know, the public to know, general public to know, the type of person that you are. You is not a no-nonsense man. So when you see that you going and giving your, everything into even dealing with this Constitution right now, I am so proud of you, Mr. Thompson. Because I have a
Thank you.
chance to talk to your brother most times because I go to Transfiguration Church from time to time, calling.
Yes.
And so I just really wanted to call publicly, just to let you know what a great person that you are. And I'm really thankful to God first and then to you for making me be whatever I am today. Oh, a nice family, and of course my life could have been different if
Yes.
it hadn't been for you, Mr. Thompson.
Well, I
So I
appreciate
am
that.
really honored and I'm grateful and appreciative of everything, especially those days that you grab us and you carry us and you showed us manners and respect and discipline and all that.
Yes.
And I still today don't know how you did it.
Well, I
Going
appreciate that.
in almost every constituency, forming basketball teams. It wasn't no organization, it just was you.
That
And
is
you got
correct.
it done. And a lot of us, we turn out to be good civil servants in this country today. And I really honor and I thank God for you.
Yes. Thank you. And
And
thank you very
I'm
much.
glad I got this opportunity to really say that to you publicly.
Yes.
Okay?
Well,
So
thank you.
you just continue doing the work of God, Marcus. It's only Him.
Yes. It is through the grace of
And
God.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's one of those many basketball players back then. Yes, we had teams in every single constituency. I always told the players the product was the sport of the players themselves. We looked after them well. Now, a lot of people would like to see those kind of programs come up again. Of course, we'll have to shift it. I was speaking to my people, and I told them we have to raise it back up again because a lot of people remember those days and they remember the organizational structure that was in place. Yes, he is correct in everything that he said. No transportation. I used to walk. I had a basketball. And then eventually I got a little car and I was able to drive around. So we had sessions throughout New Providence. It was an island-wide basketball tournament. Every single constituency, I think we had about 20 constituencies back then. In fact, some constituency like St. Barnabas Hawks number 1, St. Barnabas Hawks number 2, St. Barnabas Hawks number 3, Yellow Elder, Owl Road, they were all in Yellow Elder. We had the other constituencies, Bain and Grantstown, Fort Charlotte. We can't remember Fort Charlotte. Forget Fort Charlotte. They would wear green and white. And we had a big team in Fort Charlotte. And every single constituency was in that program. And it was organized according to the constituencies. And I'm very grateful to persons who assisted and helped in those years. But we're going to have to look at bringing that up again because people keep telling me about it. But of course, things have changed. This is 2025. I believe in working on the ground. See, I've had decades of experience with working on the ground, as the caller would tell you. And we need to get things back in order. It may be challenging now, but you see, I always like to meet challenges. And that is why we ask for your support, because the salvation of this country is extremely important. I need 12,000 potential sponsors. We need you to send me an email, Bahamians. The email address is thestateofthenation242@gmail.com. The state of the nation 242@gmail.com. And I think the caller just called. It really moved me. And you get very emotional when you hear those kinds of testimonies. And Bahamians, we can do better. We're still here. I'm sorry to say that we lost some of those young people. I remembered one young man, they call him Fire, bright-skinned fella. He's not alive. He's been gone a long time. And I am very upset when I see the slaughteration of young men in this country because, see, I'm very close to the young men of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I've always been for more than half a century. And the thing is that we keep losing the males That's the enemy's plan to destroy the country. We don't need that. We have to do better. We've got to put those guns down. There has to be character development, Bahamians. There's some things you do not do. I always tell young men that you've got to listen to mommy and daddy. I had very strict parents, mother and father, always saw them every single day of my life. There was never a day or I didn't see daddy and I didn't see mommy. Only the time when we went away with mommy, of course, we didn't see him, but he was still there back home. And we went traveling with mommy. Now, I was closer to mommy, I'll tell you that, closer to my mother than I was to daddy. He had a very firm hand. He was a strong disciplinarian, but we still loved him and cared for him. And I am happy that I had that kind of upbringing. And also my aunts and my uncles who looked after us, not the kind of funny stories I heard just in the court just recently with a particular grandfather involved with his granddaughter. And it's a sad state of affairs. Where did that kind of behavior come from? That's not Bahamian. I know it's not Bahamian. The parents and the adults looked after the children. We were brought together like that at a very young age. And as you got older, that grows with you. You look after the children. I couldn't tell anything to my parents about the younger ones in the family who we had to look after to make sure they were safe. I would have to take the injuries for them, not them taking the injuries. But we knew what our responsibilities were, and that is still true today. So we're going to look at the possibility of raising up that kind of program, which was very effective in those days. But of course, today, like I said, we have some things. We may have to take a different approach, particularly when it looks at scrutinizing people to supervise the children. We're going to have to say to parents, you're going to have to take more active scrutiny of your own children. In those days, we went overboard in looking after the children. We thought nothing about it. But now, today, with all sorts of strange things happening to people's children, one has to exercise caution and restraint. Your character is extremely important. Your reputation is extremely important. I believe I hear the music in the background. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. This is Constitution Day. I'm going to speak to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas today. And some things I have to point out to you, Bahamians, because you need to know the difference. There's a lot of false information going out. We have to correct it. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break. And Bahamians, we have our share of problems, but when I listen around the world and hear the kind of problems people are going through, where they're burning buildings, toppling governments, violent overthrows of government in Nepal. They have that. They have an interim prime minister right now running the country, and I think they're going to have an election next year for a new government. The people got upset, and they decided to overthrow. They said basically these are younger people in the country, and they went on mass demonstrations, hundreds of thousands of people, and it's taking its toll on those nations and Bahamians when you break up your place. It takes a long time, if ever, to get back to where you used to be, and a lot of nations never get back to where they were. Sudan is a typical example. Even though they have, I think, an athlete is in Britain who is from Sudan, and he's doing well in athletics, and that's a good thing for the country. But the country is divided into two, and they're having all kinds of problems over there in Sudan. Then, of course, Guinea, as I mentioned earlier, you have overthrow of a government by a former dictator, and now they're having a referendum to determine whether this particular person can run again as for the presidency. And he overthrew the government 4 years ago. You see, so they're having a referendum, they went to the people. And of course, in the United States, they're having challenges at the city level and at the state level. And of course, I heard Mr. Donald Trump talking about telling his attorney general to prosecute certain people that who are his quote unquote political enemies. And I don't know if it is supposed to be done like that, but there are those who think that the Constitution we have ought to be changed and it's not working. They don't understand it. That's the problem. That's why they talk that kind of crap. It is the best Constitution that we have on the planet. There's none like it anywhere on the planet. The point is, even the professor from the University of the Bahamas, he said it's very difficult to change it. I don't think it's difficult to change it. All you have to do is go by what the Constitution says. The Constitution outlines the things that need to be done if there's to be any changes. And nothing could change unless there's a referendum. I don't want it to be any different from that. Any changes to that document, you must come to the people. You don't allow the Parliament, which would comprise the House of Assembly and the Senate, and Her Majesty the Queen. That's your Parliament, Bahamians. The Constitution says that very clearly. Parliament consists of Her Majesty the Queen, a Senate, a House of Assembly. You have that tape ready, Mr. Producer? Okay, go ahead, please. Put it on.
Employees, their payment was actually very late because they, senior group of employees, their payment was actually very late because they were to be paid effective September 2024, and they got their payment in July of 2025. This group is only going to be a little delayed. Their payments will be effective September of 2025, and they will get their payments according to the Ministry of Finance December of 2025. Now that is for the budget period of 2025, 2026. Again, this is a Ministry of Finance project, so the technicalities you can get from the Ministry of Finance. But after seeing the release last night and making a call to the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, that is the information I received. Our government has been giving increases 2022, 2023, 2024, and now 2025, because we promised to bring our public servants up to where they should be. Prior to this, there's been no increase for public servants since 2016.
That's a good while, 2016 to 2025. You're looking at 9 years, no increases for the public service. And of course, the Minister for the Public Service, Pierre Global Role, said they were giving increases 2022, 2023, 2024, and now 2025. And of course, some people are disappointed because they were looking for that increase this month, and now they have to wait another 3 months to December of this year when they will get the increase. Hopefully, they'll get it at that time. And so people are depending on those things. What the delays are, we don't know. The minister said that you'd have to find that out from the Minister of Finance. And so we will have to check with them and see what the position is as to why these delays keep occurring. But hopefully the people will get their funds that they're looking forward to. One thing, when the government makes a promise to the Bahamian people when it comes to money, they're looking forward to that money. So sometimes it's advisable to be certain that you're able to meet the target date, even if you have to set it back a month or two before you make the final announcement. So you give one announcement, this is the time you will get it, you already have it planned out, so you don't have to tell them when the time comes around, you get another 3-month delay, that kind of thing. It upsets people, and there may be reasons why the government of Bahamas or the particular ministry, which is the Ministry of Finance in this case, have these delays. So it is the duty of the government of the Bahamas or the Ministry of Finance, whatever ministry it happens to be on, whatever particular issue that affects the Bahamian people, to explain to the Bahamian people what is going on. I think what has been happening is there's been a breakdown in communications and misinformation. And it's the duty of the government of the Bahamas to make sure the arms of the government, the agencies of the government, whatever department it may be, that information is crystal clear. And that's what I work to do on this show, to explain in simple, basic, fundamental language. Because sometimes you may say something today, the people don't really get it. You may have to express it a few times more before they even begin to get it. I've noticed that with the psyche of the Bahamian people. Some things are hard to be understood. It may be simple to me, but when I'm talking to you, it may be more complex. But the point is, making it in simple, basic, fundamental language is important. And I think the government needs to look at it from that point of view, rather than having people angry and frustrated and causing people to get all riled up. And we don't need that. It causes all kinds of other problems, frustration. Do you know it's against the Constitution to be frustrated? No man, woman, or child shall ever have their lives frustrated by deprivation. People are looking forward to those monies. People are looking forward to proper lighting facilities on the island of New Providence. It's very black out there. Street lighting is extremely poor. And it ought to be fixed. What's happening with BPL? Street lighting is a major problem on the island of New Providence. And I know it's worse in the family islands. And so I always talk about proper markings, no reflectors in the road. See, even if the lights are off, here's the thing. As simple as this is, if they were to put reflectors on every single street on the island of New Providence, reflectors to the left, reflectors in the middle, reflectors on the right. So even if the street lights are off, when the vehicle passes, the lights of the vehicle will show up and you will see exactly where you're going. You'll be able to watch from those reflectors on the ground You may put markings with paint and that kind of thing. That's not working. You need markers, you need reflectors, which when the lights of your vehicle hit the reflectors, it's like the whole street gets light up. But we don't have that. And so people end up crashing into a wall, crashing into a building, crashing into a lamppost. And some of them are very near to the edge of the road. But all you see is this darkness. And some people may be intoxicated. They shouldn't drive if they're intoxicated. And then it causes an accident. People lose control of their vehicle. There's a high rate of speed. Speed really kills. And of course, you're supposed to wear your seatbelt. They say seatbelts save lives. And I know for decades we were not using seatbelts. That is something that just came up recently. And so you put on your seatbelts, yet people are still dying in the streets. So what has happened? We need to conduct ourselves properly on the roads. There's something in the Constitution that speaks about a national commitment to self-discipline. We are not a disciplined people, as the first caller mentioned about discipline. We have lost that aspect of our lives. People are rushing around. They end up bringing harm to others in the community, on the streets. And then you find a family loses a loved one who may be a breadwinner, or the person may be critically injured, and we don't know how soon the person is going to be healed, and they may be in that condition for years. And see, Bahamians, what it does, it takes a negative toll on the life of that particular individual and also that family, and even that community, and even that particular constituency. So these are things we have to look out for. Now, of course, the election is going to be next year, and then, of course, it is saying that the Prime Minister is the only one who knows when the election would be held. Okay, fine. I'm not going to knock that in any way, shape, or form. I think what would be better is for everybody to know when an election would be called. We need fixed dates for elections. That is a matter that Bahamians need to discuss with your representatives. To have a fixed date so that if people are planning their vacation, they could plan it around the election. And they can be here to participate in the polls. But when it's wrapped up in the hands of one particular personality, and that one particular personality is the only one who can either call it before or call it at the appointed time when it should be called. He can call an early election, or he can call it at the appointed time it would be called. The point is, it's the Prime Minister who has to make that decision. That's how it is now. But it would be better if everybody knew 5 years down the road, ahead of time, this date and time, that's when the general election would be. Rain or shine. In the United States, they have fixed date for presidential elections. So everybody knows way ahead of time when the next election is going to be, 2028. I think it may be the first Tuesday in November of that year. We have 2024, 2028. No matter what happens, no matter where the storm, whether they got snow, no matter what, the elections are held at a fixed time. And that is an example we can follow here in the Bahamas, instead of people playing around with your head. Now, let me just speak to this issue about Parliament, because the particular personality gave some very misleading information about Parliament. The question was asked about your representative, your MP. What is your representative doing? What is your member of Parliament doing in your particular constituency? Are they making life better for you? Have you seen any improvement? I asked this question July the 8th, 2024. And I phrased it whether any major constituency problems have been solved on the ground in your particular constituency. And these are the clear-cut benefits that come to you as constituents in that particular constituency. You should be able to answer that. Instead of say you give the representative an A, a B, or a C, look at the record and see how many constituency problems have been solved and what are the benefits you are gaining now, what you're benefiting from. That's how you judge a representative. Anything outside of that, you're wasting your time. We spend billions of dollars every year in this country for people to run the affairs of the Bahamian people. And you are sitting right there in that particular constituency, and you don't know whether your life is being improved upon by the personality who is the elected representative for that particular constituency. Now, I did tell you Parliament consists of Her Majesty the Queen, that's one, a Senate, and I believe we have about 16 senators in the Senate, and a House of Assembly. The totality of that is Parliament. And you have to understand the functions of the House of Assembly, you have to understand the functions of the Senate, and you have to understand the functions of Her Majesty the Queen. That's your Parliament. That was not explained in simple, basic, fundamental language. What those three areas do in terms of parliamentary democracy in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. The particular person I just read all the names of the current representatives in the House of Assembly. I just stop right there. And the particular personality read some things out of the Constitution. And see, this is the difficulty. Just simply reading it like that, in that kind of language, the average person would never, ever understand unless it is taken apart and explained in simple, basic, fundamental language. It goes right over their head. I know from years of experience. So people need to understand, and when you talk about Parliament, you can't do that all in one program. You have to split it up. Because it says Her Majesty the Queen, a Senate, a House of Assembly. That's your Parliament. Now you have to understand the functions of those three and what they do. They all have a role. They are all parliamentarians. Senators are parliamentarians. Representatives of the House of Assembly are parliamentarians. They're members of Parliament. You have the lower house, which is the House of Assembly, and the upper house, which is the Senate. And then, of course, when things go through, they go on to the Governor General for signature signing, and it becomes law. After it goes through the House, so many votes pass it, goes to the Senate, so many votes pass it, and then it goes to the Governor General, who represents Her Majesty the Queen. They are all a part of the parliamentary process in your country. Now let's deal with the House of Assembly, because these are what are elected personalities. And I believe that a lot of you out there do not understand the purpose of a representative. Some of you vote for a particular personality because they gave you some chicken or some turkey or some ham or maybe some rum or some cheap trinket. And you go and you vote for that particular person. A lot of people may be affiliated with a particular political party. They may be members of that particular political party, but the numbers are very small when it comes to membership in these political organizations. Very small. They have branches in the various constituencies. You have some what are called faithful party supporters or even faithful party members. Some are card-carrying members in these particular parties. Now, when it comes to choosing a parliamentary representative, that is something outside the jurisdiction of a particular political party. A particular political party may put up a candidate, an unfit and improper person, as a candidate to run in an election. How many of you understand how serious that is? You may be a follower of that particular political party, and that particular political party expects you, being a follower or a member of that particular political party, to vote for this unfit and improper person. And a lot of you have been foolish enough to do it. And then you wonder what has happened. And a lot of you wait for a particular personality in a given constituency. What can this particular person do for me? You expect that particular personality who has been put up as a candidate by that particular political party to do something for you. Give me something. What about constituents organizing themselves? And I don't know if this is happening anywhere in the country. If any of you know of it, inform Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. I don't know of any people in a given constituency having a constituency plan through the constituents of that particular constituency. In other words, the constituents themselves organize themselves to tell a particular candidate. This is what we would like to see happen in our own constituency. That's not happening, Bahamian. That's not happening. I've seen it long enough. It's always what this particular personality can do for you. They may get funds to run their campaign, fine. But you're looking for something from that particular personality to put in your pocket, maybe to pay your rent, maybe to pay some school fees or whatever it is. And then you sell yourself cheaply. You become a cheap trinket. And when the particular personality is elected, they forget about you because you sold yourself like a slave. That's what you did to yourself, Bahamians. Constituents in a given constituency ought to be so well organized that they have something in their hand, what they would like to see happen in their particular constituency. That's not happening today. And I think that's the mistake we are making. All of these people, with all of this talent, with all this ability, with all this potential, we have pockets in every single constituency, various problems that afflict one pocket of people, doesn't afflict the other people. They got a different set of problems in the particular constituency. We aren't even looking at that. So they sit right there in that muck and that mire for years and years and years. Nothing happens. Because there's no leadership on the ground. That's why. And I've told people repeatedly, if you do not know how to organize yourselves, call Professor Sidney McGrath or Walter Thompson. I'm not interested in what party you belong to. I'm not interested in what church you go to. I'm not interested in what lodge you're in. Those things are not important. What is important that you are a registered constituent in a particular constituency. And as a result of you being a registered constituent on the current register, you are eligible to participate in the parliamentary process. If you're not registered, you can't participate, even though you live in that particular constituency. There are certain things you have to do, Bahamian. But you are not organized on the ground where 51% or more of you are coming together to determine what it is you'd like to see happen in your particular constituency. That's out of the question. You don't organize yourselves like that. That's our weak spot for the last 52 years. So when a candidate shows up, what can you do for me? Could you pay my children's school fee? Could you buy me a fridge? Could you get me some conch salad? Could you get me some rum? And all you do is sell yourself like a slave. You become a slave. That's what you do, Bahamians. And that's basically you've been operating that way for 52 years. Then you get disappointed when the particular personality already gave you what trinket he could give you or she gave you. And when that seat changed their number, you can't get in touch with them. They go do some other thing. Maybe you have to watch these things. You are not organized on the ground to tell a candidate, these are the things we want to see in this particular constituency. You're not organized for that. That's your weak spot right there. You need to learn to communicate with one another. And I gave you a simple, basic, fundamental example as to how you can communicate with the people in your particular constituency. Are you doing that? I hear the music in the background. I got to stop. I told you that there are people out there who are misleading and deceiving and lying to you about the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's their modus operandi. They don't want you to know any better. They don't want you to even do better. They want you to keep you in that muck and mire you've been squatting in for the last 52 years. This is Professor Sidney McGrath of Walter Thompson. I'll continue this. The lines are open 326-0272-813-0271. We'll be back after the break.
yourself. Yeah. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. The aim is this is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of Bahamas. I was in the process of explaining what Parliament is all about. I'm not going to leave you in the dark, Bahamians, like others are doing in this country, misleading and deceiving and lying to you. I don't like it at all. We need to improve on our parliamentary system, yes. But then there are some things we've been doing for the last 52 years which have never been beneficial to us. Now, someone on Facebook asked me about the contributions and support for the show. Let me say this. I didn't give any account number on air, and we will eventually do that. But here's what I would like for you to do. I would like for you to send me an email. This is very important. I want the public to please listen very carefully. There's some things, there's a reason why we do things a certain way. Now, as we move along, we will open it up a little bit more. But as it stands right now, we have to take precautionary measures to make sure we are safe in what we are doing. I want you to send my team an email. 12,000 of you out there. You say you love Professor Sidney Walter Thompson. I need 12,000 of you to send me that email. And I want you to be sponsors and supporters of the work we're doing. We got the radio show. We got to do town meetings. We have to do constitutional lectures. We need sponsors for all of these things. We got to get to the rallies. You know, they got this artificial intelligence, people talking foolishness and nonsense. I have to be there with my team to record what the man say. So when I come back to the radio station, my producer has it. This is what was said by this particular minister or this particular candidate or this particular representative. Is our Peer Global role was on. We heard specifically what she said. And she said, now go and ask the Minister of Finance why there's this delay. She said she spoke to the Permanent Secretary. Permanent Secretaries have a role to play. But let me get back to the point, because see, this thing can go wide. What I want you to do, 12,000 plus of you, send me an email. The email address is the State of the Nation 242 @gmail.com. The THE state STATE of OF THE the nation 242. That's the figure 242 @gmail.com. The State of the Nation 242 @gmail.com. Please put your phone numbers on the email. That's very important that you do that. Because once those emails come across my desk, some of them I could just look at the phone number, bing, I call that individual and speak to that individual right there on the spot and give you instructions as to how you should proceed. Now, the Facebook person we're talking about, they only deal with cash. It's kind of dangerous just dealing with cash. And so what you can do is, I want that person to call me. We would prefer you to do it a little differently. But if you have cash in your hand and you want to bring it to the radio station, put your name and your number on it and your address on it. On the outside of the envelope, that's for Professor Sidney Walter Thompson. The thing is that we would prefer you to use a different system. The banking system, we got all kind of technology around here. You could sit right in your house, press a couple of buttons and bing, the money is on the account. You don't have to go nowhere. And of course, those in the family islands, you have this modern system, and we can't get the cash in that fashion unless you send something through the post. And of course, we'll have to give you the postal address for that. So if you send that email with your contact on it, and you want to support what Professor Thompson is doing and the team is doing, we will be able to advise you accordingly what to do. Now, of course, if you want to call me when I'm off air, you could call me through National Affairs. The number being 325-8652. That is 325-8652. 325-8652. Right at the station, 326-0272. 813-0273. 813-0271. Let me make sure I get those numbers right at the station. 326-0272. 813-0271. Those are the two numbers there at the radio station. But when I'm away from the radio station, National Affairs, I'm going to have my cell up soon, and I'll give you that cell number as well. But the number to get me through National Affairs is 325-8652. Of course, those calling outside the Bahamas, 242-325-8652. And like I say, it's preferable and a safer way to deal with these funds rather than just strictly cash. But if the person wants to come to the station and bring it, that's fine. That will be accepted. But please put your contact number on the envelope, your name, your phone number, and everything like that, so I'll know exactly who it's from, and we would make connection with you. You could come at the time when I'm here, because I'm here now until 4 o'clock, shortly after 4, Monday to Fridays. But if you come at any other time and you give that to the producer, and like I say, you want to do these transactions safely, all right? And so it would be best if we use the banking system or, a check. You can make a check payable as well. But the point is that one has to exercise caution when it comes to cash. And so, like I said, if you bring the cash, fine, we'll accept that. That's not a problem. But bring it between the time I'm here at the radio station, and we can tabulate it accordingly. But it would be best for those in the family islands and those outside of the country. You send the email and you put your contact numbers on that email. And your email address will be there as well. And then we can make contact with you. That's how we're doing it now. Now, of course, as we go further on, we may decide to shift a little bit, but that's how it is right now. That's why I'm asking 12,000 of you to send me that email. I need 12,000 persons or more to support, because there are many things we have to do. I told you about the research team, 49 people we need. 7 teams of 7. 7 by 7 is 49. There is a tremendous amount of information that has to be researched. We got so much information out there, Bahamians. It takes a while to dig through and get correct and precise information, to break it down, to give it to you in simple, basic language over the airwaves. I do that with the Constitution. A lot of you who've been listening to me over the years, you know that. That ain't something that just started yesterday. It's been going on for years. On all the radio stations have been on. ZNS have been on. Gems Radio have been on. The Guardian Radio have been on. More FM have been on. Jones Communications, the television stations have been on. Now I'm here at Global Radio, 99.5 FM. And my reputation and my character is at stake. I don't let no one interfere with that. Because when I say something to you, I want it to be true and accurate and precise. If I don't know the answer to a particular question, I will say, Professor has to look into that a little bit more before he says anything about it. I want to be straightforward and honest with you because Bahamians, this coming election is going to be very serious. And we already have a tremendous amount of lies, deception, tricks out in the open. And that's the way some people play the games. They're playing games with your life, Bahamians. We have to stop that foolishness. But there are certain things you can do to prevent it from happening. They don't have to use you. You don't have to be a victim of a piece of chicken. Huh? Come on, Bahamians. We're not supposed to be like that. Do not sell yourself cheaply to a candidate. Why are you doing that? I have to explain to you the work of a parliamentarian, what a parliamentarian ought to be doing. I'm not talking about being a part of a political party. Hold on, caller. Don't go nowhere. Stay right there. I have to explain to you in simple, basic, fundamental language the difference between party representation and parliamentary representation. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor.
Good
How are you doing
afternoon. How
today?
are you?
Pretty good. I'm prompted to call your show. I just responded to a comment on Facebook where someone asked if the Prime Minister has too much power,
Okay.
and so I answered. The Prime Minister, several Prime Ministers thought that they were all powerful,
No, they're
but
not.
what they found out was in the wording of our Constitution, 50 plus 1% of the elected voters call the shots.
Yes.
And so, in any given referendum, it's the people of the Bahamas who get to tell the mixed up prime minister what time it really is.
That is correct.
And I always thank God that Queen Elizabeth, uh, who helped in the drafting of that specific constitution, everyone says it's a standard constitution. No, I don't see the
No,
other
it's not.
countries having that.
No, they don't have it.
And so she was very concerned, according to my father, that big countries like China, Haiti, even Jamaica that had 2 point something million,
Yes.
that these people would dominate us in a short time because she recognized that we were very humble,
Yes.
kind, gentle people. When she would come to her residence at Windermere, Miss Antrobus baked the bread. She ate from Bahamian people. She
Yes.
understood us.
Yes, ma'am.
She understood our reverence for the British tradition and the Christian faith that many Africans would have embraced, who were freed by the British Navy
Yes.
stationed here, and they were on their way to slavery, but they were freed here
Yes.
and lived in places like Adelaide, Fox Hill, Bain, and Grantstown. We are not your typical Negroes. We are very special. We are Christian, Bible-believing Negroes who were freed by the British to live out our lives here in these islands.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the Haitian people and whatever their story is, it is very different from ours.
Totally different.
And the Queen, understanding their numbers, made sure that constitutionally, 50 plus 1% of the registered voters would determine what happens here.
Yes.
And so I don't care. It could be 10 million Chinese, 10 million Haitians land here. You're going to leave because there's nothing in our Constitution to give you the right to inherit here or to take it over.
Yes, ma'am.
Only Bahamians may determine the future of this place. That is what the Constitution says.
Yes.
And so this trick that I'm observing with the voter registration and conversation from the parliamentary registrar, I don't know who he is. I don't even know if he's a Bahamian. I don't even know if he knows his job.
Yes, ma'am.
But the British administrators that left us the system of voting, it has its own protections in there. You may not come up with a voter's card. You're not a born Bahamian and you're on the voting list. I'm very sorry. That vote is going to be challenged. It will not be counted because there is nowhere in our Constitution that gives people from somewhere else, born somewhere else, the right to vote.
That is correct.
I'm so sorry. That's not going to happen. And
That's
so
right.
when you talk about the research, Brother Thompson, we're conducting the research on the proper management of the Voting Act. It does not allow what is being proposed,
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well as the barometrics and all that. You may not just impose a system on us, especially if you're the government that's about to be fired. It's called a conflict of interest.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
cannot get away with it. We are a nation of laws. The judiciary is equally as powerful as the executive. The executive at no point during the week can come and dictate to the Bahamian people. It doesn't work that way. You work for us, and we will fire you. Believe it.
Yes, ma'am.
Without resorting to the way that Haiti does things. We don't do that. From 1729,
That's
we have
correct.
very peaceful exchanges of power. We fire people and routinely forget their names. This is the Bahamas,
Yes, ma'am.
very different place. And so I thank you for the focus that you've given this nation on the Constitution, Brother Thompson. That is one of the
Thank
gifts,
you.
one of the many gifts you've given to the country. You cause us to focus on that document, and you cause us to learn that we are not pawns. The Prime Minister and no one else that we have employed is our boss. He's an employee,
That's correct.
and for poor service can be removed.
Yes, he can be.
And I believe it's well on the way because that particular conversation that Prime Minister Davis had with the Haitian people in Foxville, that is called treason.
Yes,
In
ma'am.
any part of the British Empire and any place where they left the rule, treason is a very important part
Yes, ma'am.
of the rule. You may not do that. You may not have been employed to do the Bahamian people's business while you start acting in the best interest of Haiti. That is called treason. It is punishable by death,
That's
according to our law.
the only punishment for treason is death.
Isn't that something?
That's correct.
And so I am sad that as a people we didn't bother to learn the rules that govern the place. And
Yes.
so because of that, I think we're in a bit of trouble. But and I thank you for agreeing to be a presenter at our town meeting that's coming up on Friday
Yes, ma'am.
at Zion Baptist Church from 7 p.m. True Bahamians, real Bahamians, Bahamians who love the Bahamas, need to appear in person because our politicians have gotten mixed up about who are their bosses.
Yes.
The Bahamian people hire politicians, and we remove them. I'm looking in my neighborhood right now, Mr. Thompson. I'm
Yes,
in
ma'am.
Bain and Grantstown, and the garbage is not being picked up in a timely fashion.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's happening all over the city. I don't get around much. You know, I've been in a wheelchair for a number of
Yes,
years
ma'am.
now. I don't get
Yes.
out and about.
But there are other
But
places that have similar problems, just like what you have.
with the garbage,
Yes.
so how does a group of people who cannot master the art of picking up garbage dare to offer for service again? You can't pick up the garbage. You just need to go away. I don't know how it sounds. You cannot understand that picking up the garbage has everything to do with a national epidemic
That's correct.
and that being tourism related, if we have an epidemic of any kind, we're out of business.
That is
That
correct.
means nobody gets any food.
That's as quick as that.
That means violence in the streets when people can't get enough to eat.
That's right.
So you allow the garbage not to be picked up because you can't mismanage the money. It's budgeted for every year.
And then
Garbage collection.
another problem that we have,
Mhm.
even in Fort Castle, you have these situations where there's a lot of leakage in the garbage, right? In the
Mhm.
street, and it puts a bad scent right in front of your place.
Oh my
That
goodness.
is a major problem that we are seeing now. At one time in the past, the
Mhm.
garbage was collected well,
Mhm.
but now you have a deterioration in
Mhm.
terms of the quality of the service,
Mhm.
where people who are picking it up are very loose with their service. You have a lot of things leaking into the street, and they leave it right there, and this gives a bad scent in front of your place. It has
But
happened to us several times.
we're going to have to address it,
That has to
Brother
be
Thompson,
addressed.
because if a disease breaks out here, I
That could be a
assure you,
problem.
the cruise ships will not pull into
They
that
will not pull
harbor.
in.
The airplanes will not land here. And so we've allowed ourselves to be overwhelmed by a group of people
Yes,
who
ma'am.
are carriers of dengue and all sorts of unknown things. Because I can tell you, Brother Thompson, in Haiti, there is no vaccination program.
Yes, ma'am.
There is none. It does not exist. Now, that's not a reflection on us because we don't run that place. They do.
They do,
And
yes.
if they mismanage their nation, we must not allow them to come here to mismanage ours. That's another thing. In Haiti, garbage is all through the canals. Garbage is
ma'am.
not collected. Dead
That's
bodies are
terrible.
not collected.
Oh, that's
This
bad.
is the Bahamas, though. So how are we going to allow a nation that's mismanaged their resources to come here and put us out of business?
That's
It
what would
cannot
happen.
be allowed.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I'm grateful for your constitutional lessons, and I want to say to the Bahamian people, we are not helpless. We are not hopeless. We run this country, but we have to show up and we have to sign up in a group.
Yes.
Because I can tell you that both the PLP, the FNM, and the COI are littered with people of Haitian backgrounds. I'm not interested in a conversation with them. I'm not going to ask a Haitian to deliver me from the Haitian problem. They
Yes,
are
ma'am.
unable to do it emotionally, and they have no interest.
Yes,
And so
ma'am.
I'm not going to ask people who are in agreement with my enemy to help me. No, I'm not going to waste time. There are sufficient Bahamians in this country with a knowledge of how the parliamentary government is supposed to work, how the election system is supposed to work, how the Constitution works. There are enough of us to gather and fix this.
Yes.
I encourage them to show up on Friday evening at Zion Baptist Church, 7 p.m. Wonderful Reverend T.G. Morrison gave an address on January 10th, a year ago, to tell us that we ought to be able, as Christians, to gather to fix this problem. I
Yes.
believe we can. I believe we're able. I believe God is able.
No, God is able. No doubt about that.
And we are believers in this nation. We do not serve Satan. We do not worship voodoo. We are Bible-believing Christians. I don't care who out of order and may not be in good order. We are fundamentally Christians in this nation. We
That
believe
is
God.
correct. Yes, ma'am.
I thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time, Brother Johnson, and keep on doing the good work. The Constitution
That's
saves us.
important. And thank
God
you
bless
very much.
you.
Thank you very much. That's caller there, Lady Russell, and she's right on target, right on point with everything. Bahamians, there are enough of us working with God, coming under the leadership of Jesus Christ, because there are some basic fundamental principles that we have to live by. We just can't leave it up to any and everybody to run the place. We can find competent, reliable, responsible persons to send to the House of Assembly, to appoint to the Senate, to appoint in senior positions in this country, to take this country to the next level under the leadership of God. That's what we're about, Bahamians. So that's why it's important that you take the necessary action that is essential to be able to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We can't let the country go down with strangers and foreigners and aliens and outsiders. We must stop all of that foolishness. This is Professor Sidney McCarter Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. We will be back after the break. outside of the country, there are other ways of contacting me. We got direct communication by telephone into the United States. The reception is extremely good. I use it often. And I mean, the rates, just, it's nothing to even talk about. The telephone rates are dropped so low. Now, I understand on that end, there may be some challenges because I know a friend of mine who I would call him. I said, all you have to do is call me, and then I'll call him right back. And it's not a problem. From this end, getting into the United States, the reception is extremely good. So there's no problem there. Now, what I will say to people inside the United States and other parts of the world who may not use their email, because the email would be helpful to us. But like I said, you'll have to make that telephone call. And the number is 1242 325 8652. Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. 1242 325 8652. This is an answer to one of our Facebook customers. I have to get that out. I'll repeat it again. 1242 325 8652. That's through National Affairs. You can get me that any time of the day or night when I'm not here at the radio station. The numbers there at the station are 3260272, 3260272, 1242 3260272 if you're calling outside from the United States, and also 813-0271. That's 1242-813-0271. All right. And of course, once we hear from you, we'll be able to instruct you and give you how you can send those funds. All right. It's very important that we do it this way at this particular time. And as I said to you, as we open up even further, we will be able to give you further instructions. But that's how it is done for now. Those who have cash, you write here on your Providence, you say you have cash in your hand. You can bring it to the station while I'm here. I'm here Monday to Fridays between 2 p.m., 4 p.m. You can bring it in. I'll stay a little after the show if you are kind of a little late, and you can bring it in. We want your name and the amount you have on there, and also your contact information so we could calculate it, tabulate it properly with our people who is handling the funds. This is very, very important. But there are ways and means of dealing with funds at this modern age. We got all this technology around here, babies. We got to use it. You people in the Family Islands, you send that email, the State of the Nation 242 at gmail.com. The State of the Nation 242 at gmail.com. Please put your phone numbers on it. I did get the number, the gentleman who called from Long Island. I will probably call him today. I didn't get to call him yesterday, but I'll call him today. I want to hear from the Family Island. I want to hear those people from Eleuthera and other parts of the country. I think we got a call on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Professor Thompson.
Hey, what's happening, man?
Not much at all.
Okay.
God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, one God, amen.
Amen. That's right.
A pleasant good evening, a pleasant
Good afternoon.
to the Bridgewaters.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Professor,
Yes, sir.
I was one of your long time calling customer.
Yeah, the voice sounds familiar. Yes.
This Leroy Williamson out of Freeport, Grand Bahama.
Oh, Leroy Williams.
Yes, sir.
Freeport,
I haven't been
Alabama.
calling
Do I have
you.
your contact number?
You should.
Just leave it with the producer again, just in case.
I could give it to you now if you want.
No. Give it. No, give it to him so he can write it down because I'm on air now.
Okay, so when I finish,
Yeah, you
talking
just
to
stay on
you,
the line.
he
When
will
you finish,
stay there.
when you
he will-
finish talking with me, you stay right on the line because he's right here. He'll take the number, your name and number from you. Yes.
All right, Professor.
Okay. Now you could get to the point what you want to say.
Okay, very good. The reason why I'm calling now, Lady Russell. I heard Lady Russell's on
Yes.
a while ago,
Yes, she was.
and she really imparts some knowledge.
Yes, she does.
And if it is so, what she was saying that these are information is very skeptical. We don't get that kind of information.
No, but see, the thing is that there's a lot of deceit going on in the country. I tell people when it comes to the Constitution, there is tremendous misinformation. You had a particular personality on another radio station talking about parliamentary, what's supposed to be about members of parliament. The particular personality was very misleading to the Bahamian people, did not clarify in simple, basic, fundamental language what a parliamentarian is, what comprises parliament. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Basic information that the Bahamian people need to know. And that's what I do on the airwaves. Simple, basic, fundamental language. I was going through it today. It's going to take me a couple of shows to do it because I'm not going to be able to complete it today because I just have a limited amount of time. Go ahead, Colin.
Okay, so all right. I was a little bit, I wouldn't say disappointed, but a little bit concerned. I know when you took over the show, you had actually put some very, very important subject matter on the table.
Yes.
And one of those that I could remember was that as a talk show host, gone are the days when you cut off the the caller. The caller always have the right to speak his mind.
That is correct.
The talk show host will listen to the caller and hear them out, and when they're through, then he makes his comment.
Yes.
And you were doing pretty good, but somehow it seemed like you're just away from that, Professor.
Okay.
Yes,
How
sir.
did I, how did, no, tell me, you could tell me on air, how did I move away from it?
Well,
Give me an example.
I just listen to you at times,
Uh-huh.
but I heard you on many occasions when a person seems like they didn't addressing subject matter which you probably don't buy into. You
Okay.
stop them, and then you make your comment, and then when you finish, you say, "Let him go, producer." I heard you do that on plenty of occasions, you know.
Okay, I appreciate your correction. Here's something that perhaps I need to explain, not only to you, but the general public in general. If a person gives information, the Constitution says freedom to impart ideas and opinions without interference, and also without interference with his correspondence. That is entrenched in your Constitution, right? Now, if a person calls the show and he says, Professor, these are my personal views on this particular subject, I cannot deal with that to the point where I question him on it. He can make those views, and I say, okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. But here is where the problem comes into play. If a person calls this radio station and pretends or purports to make what he or she is saying being constitutionally sound, I cannot tolerate that. I will not allow that to happen. You know why? Because I know the Constitution. I've studied constitutional law.
Right.
I know what the Constitution says. Listen, you could quote any law to me, any statute law, any international law, any regional law. Article 2 of our Constitution says if it doesn't line up with this Constitution, it is null and void. I judge everything based on the supreme law of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. If it ain't lining up, I can't accept that. Now, they may not know, but it's my duty to tell them.
Okay.
Just like on another radio station, a particular personality was giving misinformation, wrong information about parliamentarians. Don't even know what parliament consists of. The Constitution says plainly, parliament consists of Her Majesty the Queen, a Senate, a House of Assembly. That's your parliament right there. Now you have to break that down and explain the duties of the Queen, the duties of the Senate, the duties of the House of Assembly. The House of Assembly is the lower house, the Senate is the upper house.
Okay.
So people went away with false information by that particular personality because it was not explained. The person read some things from the Constitution. Listen, man, the people in Baintown ain't gonna get that. That's way over their head. The way how the document is written in legal language. You have to chop that down, study that, know and understand it, and give it to them in simple, basic, fundamental language. You will never become on as they're trying to read that like that, the way how it's written now. I know the difficulty for the average person. They don't understand a
Right,
thing what you're
exactly.
saying.
That's what I'm thinking now. The fact that we're so backwards with the Constitution, it will take a person with plenty patience and plenty tolerance
Okay.
to keep on reciting.
No,
Because remember that, like in my case, I can't see to go pick up the Constitution and read it for myself. So I'm
Yeah.
depending on the information that I get from people like you
Okay, well,
to
I
learn as
appreciate.
I go along because I can't read anything.
Okay, well,
You
I
see? It's only
appreciate.
what I get from people, experts like yourself. And,
Yes, sir.
I have to be continuing trying to, absorb what I'm hearing because I can't
Okay.
take no note to remind me later.
Okay, well, I appreciate the correction. And if you felt that I was off, that's understand. I want people to say this to me publicly. Because one person called me yesterday, and I said to that person, "You called the show today." They asked a number of constitutional questions, but we're getting toward the end. We're less than 30 minutes into the show, and I asked that person to call me today and let me talk to the people. You asked the question. He asked some very important questions. But the person, I don't know, maybe the person couldn't get the call. He called at another time if he couldn't call today. But I want to do it today on Constitution Day. But
Yes,
the
sir.
thing is that I want to give the people accurate, precise information that is constitutionally sound.
Yes, sir.
That's the way to help people. And I agree with you. See, the people have never understood this document for the last 52 years since we had it. You know how many
Yes, sir.
people are grateful for the explanations I give on the radio?
Yes, sir.
Because they're not able to understand the legalese language, the way how the document is written. I'm very well
Exactly.
aware of that. You strip that down and you have to look at each word, each sentence, each paragraph. You can't
That's
just
right.
read that over the airwaves and say the people get it.
Yeah, right, right.
Many people will never get it. So you have to take a different format. This particular personality who has been in the house, sat in the house and talking foolishness and nonsense on the radio. You understand what I'm saying? I could get a copy of the tape, strip it, analyze it on air. I don't want to necessarily do that to a particular personality.
I see.
But the thing is, I want to be helpful to the Bahamian people because there are some who would take offense to that and then they say you're attacking the particular personality. I speak to the issue.
Right.
So when you hear me have the producer play clips, this is what the Minister of Finance said, or the Prime Minister, because he got the two positions. So when you analyze what he's saying, you want to do it honestly and objectively. So no one could say, well, Mr. Thompson trying to say things about him that are not true. I know how touchy the Bahamian people are when it comes to politics, you know.
Professor,
Yes, sir.
can I ask you a personal question?
No personal questions on the radio.
A personal question, not personal to you.
No.
Personal to the country. Your
No,
views on how the country going.
but caller,
But with a particular party in power.
no, but listen to me carefully. I will not accept personal questions on the air because it has nothing to do with my personality. That's not the issue. If you have a question on an issue of national importance, fine. If you have a question on a constitutional matter, fine. If you have a question on a constituency issue, fine. No personal questions are to be asked of me on the airwaves. I don't want to get into that. That causes problems.
Oh, okay.
So if it's a personal question, maybe you could call me off air on that one.
All right, sir.
But leave your name and number with the producer, and I'll call you. And if you have a personal question you want to ask me, fine. But not on the airwaves. It's
All
not
right.
the appropriate
Professor,
place. Yes, sir.
I'm yeah, I think we signing off now. So I'm just to hear from Miss Lady Russell, Lady
Yes.
Russell again.
Yes.
Just give her my respect,
Uh-huh.
and you could pass my number on to her, please, and have her give me a call.
No, I will do that. I'll be in touch with her later today and I'll give it to her. Once you leave it,
I'll try and give my number to your producer.
no, he's right here. Once, don't go off the line yet. He will take the information from you.
All right.
Mr.
Thank you
Producer,
very much, Professor.
thank you very much. Thank you
Keep
for
up the
your
good
call.
work, my brother.
Okay, I'll work on it. Yeah, okay. I want people to understand. Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson, do not take personal questions on the radio. If you have a particular question, if you want to ask me a personal question, you can call me off air. I'll deal with it that way, but not on the airwaves. Anything to do with a constituency issue, a community issue, an island-wide issue, a national issue, anything to do with the nation, fine, but no personal questions. All right, that's going to cause all kind of problems. So let's not get into that. And no personal questions about any other particular personality, unless if something is on the airwaves and the particular personality is involved in it and it's public information. That's a different kettle of fish because that's public knowledge. That's out in the public domain. You can address it that way. Outside of that, it wouldn't be wise to speculate or anything like that because, it can cause a lot of problems for me. And I don't think we want to get into that. Let us deal with issues that affect the country. And let me say, as I was trying to explain, parliamentarians, you have senators who are parliamentarians. I won't have enough time to get into the Senate part, but let me deal with those who are elected by the Bahamian people. This is where it starts, Bahamians. You need to know who you're sending to the House of Assembly. A lot of you don't even know the character of these people. Why is it that the people in a given constituency cannot come to an agreement as to who would be the right person to send to the House of Assembly? You mean to tell me you don't know that? If you know what you want to do in your constituency, and you are corroborating with each other, talking to each other, sharing ideas with one another, a lot of you don't do these things. So we always get persons who are not the best in the House of Assembly. Then you start grumbling and complaining all over again instead of choosing the right person. And let me give you what God says. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Proverbs 29:2. Bahamians, you've got to get righteous people in the House of Assembly. Once you do that, who fear God, who believe in God, who will do what is right and just and fair, not because of a person wearing a particular party color. That means nothing, Bahamian. There's no character there. You have to look at the character of the person who you're sending there. How well do you know that person? Is that person a real Bahamian? Do you know that? Because we got some in the house who are not Bahamians. You don't want a fraudster in there. That's why we don't get much done. Because we keep playing games, man. I would advise the constituents, get to know one another better. Talk to one another. Get to know the people on your street. communicate with one another. Now, sometimes some of you are so politically polarized. That is why when you see me come into a particular community, I do not ask you what party you belong to. I'm not interested in that. When I come in there, I want to meet with constituents in a given constituency. We're going to call constituency meetings, you know. We need sponsorship to do those constituency meetings, Bahamians. You see how serious this thing is? We can't keep it the way it is. And constituency meetings are open to the constituents in that particular constituency. We're going to give you all the sections of that particular constituency, all the different areas in that particular constituency, so you will know the east side, the west, the north, and the south, the boundaries of that particular constituency. Because many you don't know the boundaries of nothing. You don't even know what's going on in your particular constituency. That's why you haven't been able to answer the question about what major constituency problems have been solved. That's what a representative is supposed to be doing. Making sure life improves for you in that particular constituency. Do you have crime in your particular constituency? Do you have rapes in your particular constituency? Do you have full employment in your particular constituency? How well are people getting on with one another? Are they living in harmony with each other? Are they getting on well with one another? How many of you are righteous in your dealings one with another? Bahamians, God's standard has to be put in place. If you send righteous people to the House of Assembly, we will have a better government. But you have to know who you're dealing with. You have to know whether that person is a pervert, whether that person is a homosexual, whether that person is a lesbian. Yes, Bahamians, you got to know these things. You have to know whether that person is an adulterer, a fornicator. Come on, Bahamians. Let's be right down to the nitty-gritty. If they don't want to answer, then fine. You don't have to deal with them. Tell them go back from where they came. You cannot take chances with putting those hypocritical people in the House of Assembly to jack up your country. We've been doing too much of that over the last 52 years. That's why we're in the state we're in. You're going to have to face some tough questions, baby. You have to ask some very hard questions, some tough questions with these persons who want to be the representative. But you don't ask the tough questions. Who's the mother and the father? The grandparents on both sides. You got to know who you're dealing with, Bahamians. Are they genuine Bahamians? Like I'm a genuine Bahamian. You could always check my credentials. I ain't got no problem with that. Who my mother is, who my father is, who my grandparents are on both sides. I go even deeper than that, my great-grandparents on both sides. Is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson a genuine Bahamian citizen? I got to stop right now because my time is up. See, I even didn't finish answering the question about parliamentarians. I got to continue it tomorrow. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. Bahamians, do not forget now, please send me that email, the State of the Nation 242 @gmail.com. I want 12,000 plus of you. Please send me that email. I need your support in different areas. Send the email, put your phone numbers on it, and we will work from there. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Have a pleasant afternoon.